Hi, Ann.
Hey, how are you, Carl?
I'm fine.
I wanted to send you a message that last meeting to say hi.
I got you. I saw you. I saw you. I was just a little perturbed. I was a little perturbed at um, some of the answers I was hearing and stuff. So I was kind of thought I'd just lay low. Hey, Judy. Wow, it's like the old gang.
I know.
I may have to step out to take care of an issue with an intern around one here in just a few minutes, but I'll be right back. I really want to catch this session of all of them. So, okay,
Okay, sounds good.
okay, I'm gonna disappear.
Good luck.
We ready to start, Kim? We are live. Okay, welcome everybody. You are logged into the Pre-ETS for students with complex needs. Before we get started, we got a little commercial about utilizing Zoom. We want you to know the training is being recorded for participants to access after the event. If you'd like to use closed captioning, there's a couple ways you can set that up. Down in the black bar of your screen, if you click on the word closed captioning, this will give you some viewing options. You can choose show subtitles, or you can choose view full transcript. And remember, if you're using the view full transcript mode, this takes place in the chat box, so you'll need to click back on the chat box back and forth in order to utilize the chat and the view full transcript. You can also set up your closed captioning by clicking on the word, let's see, more at the bottom. I'm not seeing that. It has 3 dots. It's located in your black bar of your screen. After you select closed captioning, you will see the captioning at the bottom of your screen. There's some optional things you can do with closed captioning. You can click on the arrow next to the stop and start video, and you can choose video settings. You can use the accessibility to move the slide bar to adjust your captioning size. We do have the ASL interpreters present and working with us today. To ensure they're visible, you can pin their videos by hovering over the video of the interpreter. Click on the 3 dots and then pin the video. Or you can go into the participants list, click on the word more with 3 dots, and you can set up the interpreter there and pin the interpreter video at that place as well. We make sure your computer and headphones are turned on and the volume is adjusted to your preference. Everyone's microphone has been muted. Please ensure that you stay muted when you're not speaking. You can unclick the mute. You can unmute when we do our question and answer time. You may choose to have your video on throughout the training, but if you have some bandwidth issues, we recommend that you turn off your video. Please use the chat box to share questions and insights and let us know if you're having any technical difficulties. You can click on the attendees, participant panelist to message everyone in the group, or you can do a private message as well. You're in control of your viewing experience in Zoom, but we do have some recommendations. You can exit the full screen mode at the top right button, or view the options at the drop-down menu. You can enable it to do side-by-side mode. You can click on a speaker view and only the speaker will be seen. You can also do the same with the interpreter, and you can click and open up your chat box so it's there on the right-hand side. Please type any questions you have in the chat box throughout the presentation. Of course, if time allows, the presenter will do a question and answer time. If you have any technical difficulties, you can email Kim Osmani at KOSMANI@cornell.edu. So those of you who are interested in CRCs, all participants will receive an email at the end of the day on 9:30. Once you have submitted your online evaluation, you'll be able to print your certificates for each day. If you are a certified rehabilitation counselor and you want those CRCs after OTI, please do a couple of things for us. Please email Lashara Thompson at lthompson@okdrs.gov. she's going to need a couple of things from you. She will need a screenshot of the message on the screen after you submitted your online evaluation. She's going to need a copy of your certificate, and she's also going to need a list of your sessions that you attended. We want to thank our sponsors, of course, the Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, the Oklahoma Family Network, the Oklahoma Division on Career Development and Transition, Pathways Adult Learning Center, and Oklahoma Able Tech. For more information about the Oklahoma Transition Council, please visit us at the website listed, www.ou.edu/education/centers and partnerships/SARO/Oklahoma Transition-Council. You can also use that little icon with your telephone. Isn't technology amazing? So we want to welcome Ann Williams. She's going to talk a little about Pre-ETS, which is an acronym for Pre-Employment Transition Services here in the state of Oklahoma. So Ann, it's up to you.
Okay, well, hi, everybody. Welcome, and I'm real excited to be here. I have kind of a twofold presentation, and the first part will be kind of giving a rundown about what pre-employment transition services, or Pre-ETS, is and how we got started, and what our vision is of what Pre-ETS is. And then we'll kind of jump to the second part of my presentation, which is, okay, so now we know what Pre-ETS is. How do we work that in with students with and so share a few areas that I have learned on how to do that, as well as how to do that in the new COVID time of our situation. So I'm going to share the screen and start with my presentation, and I will stop after that first half so that we can answer any questions about pre-employment transitions. Judy will be kind of looking at the questions that come along, and we'll be able to have a chance to answer those questions in between those two parts. So I am going to share my screen now. Okay, so just to give you just a little rundown about myself, this is my 27th year teaching, and I've been in special ed that time. These last 2 years, I've been a pre-employment transition service specialist. And so I do come with a variety of experience and I've worked with all ages within special education. So I also wanted to let you know that our Pre-ETS, we work through OU under the University of Oklahoma Outreach, and within that, the National Center of Disability Education and Training. And so it's delivering customized training in a variety of ways. We want to advance independent living, employment, career opportunities for people with disabilities while improving their lives in the communities in which they live. Underneath that, NCDET, we have Oklahoma Project Search, and prior to my becoming a Pre-ETS specialist, I was did in ENID, the Project Search program, for 9 years, and that's how I learned about NCDET, as well as I learned about the Pre-ETS program. NCDET also provides employment support and professional training, as well as all the Oklahoma work incentive planning and assistance and certified behavior support analysis. here is our lovely an acronym of WIOA. A lot of you have heard of it, and if you haven't, that's the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And within that, it gave us a broader vision for youth. I'm gonna move my gallery over there so I can see everything. But it emphasizes the provision of services to services and youth with disabilities to ensure that they have opportunities to receive training and other services necessary to achieve competitive and integrated employment. Also expand the population of students with disabilities who may receive services and the kinds of services that the VR agencies may provide youth and students with disabilities who are transitioning from that school to post-secondary education and competitive integrated employment, our end goal. So for us as teachers, the WIOA, they tried to align with our IDEA stuff that a lot of us are already aware of, to make sure that children with disabilities have available to them that free and appropriate public education. And it really emphasizes education and related services. And of course, that's designed to meet their unique needs, but also prepare them for further education, employment, and everything. That's when all the, we ended up kind of switching our focus to some of those transition goals within an IEP. And the WIOA, their mandates were to increase for individuals in the United States, particularly those individuals with barriers to employment. So that's going to include those on IEPs, access and opportunities for employment, education, training, and support services they need in the labor market. So that's where those two kind of align together. I'm going to skip this screen because I ended up putting it in twice. And so we will go through this. But first of all, we want to talk about what is pre-employment transition services, or Pre-ETS. And the key words to think about there are coordinate, activities, methods, facilitate, and outreach. And so we want to provide a coordinated set of activities, and it's focused on student post-secondary goals, but actually bringing action to those IEP goals. For a lot of time on our IEPs, we have transition goals that kind of, might get, they simply tend to, we're not individualized as much as what we can do. And by individualizing them and actually having a program that can address that, we bring action to those IEP goals. We can do one-on-one activities, but we can also do small group activities. And we provide a method to access job training and education opportunities for people who have traditionally faced those barriers. The activities, we hope, help facilitate that movement from that school to post-school activities. Again, based on individual needs, we want to consider their strengths, preferences, and interest. And we also want to especially provide an outreach to engage, involve, and educate the families about what are some of the things that we can bring to help, but also not to get them stuck in a mindset that there's nothing out there for them after high school. So now I'll go back to the screen about who can participate. We do have, as our partnership, we partner with the Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services as well as the Department of Education. But we can serve students with disabilities from age 14 to 22 years of old who are enrolled in an Oklahoma school system. That has changed a lot now because we have a lot of online school systems that we are also able to work with those students, whether they might be in EPIC, Oklahoma Connections, or other type online school systems. And you can see that we can start our service earlier than even DRS can, so that we can work with students at the age of 14, which gives us an opportunity to start working on our pre-employment and transition goals even earlier than DRS can be involved. And we work with students who have been determined eligible or are potentially eligible for DRS services and who have identified a need, have an identified need for pre-employment transition services. So that's going to include students on IEPs, but it's not limited to people on IEPs or 504s. What I see a lot, as again, being in special education for the majority of my adult life, we know we have students that are identified with disabilities that are on IEPs, but I feel like there's a lot that might not be identified and be on, they might even be identified but not on an IEP. And a lot of times that can kind of coincide with our mental health issues. So for example, you might have a student that suffers from anxiety but has learned how to compensate in the classroom, so has not needed an IEP, but that anxiety might really provide a hindrance for them to access post-secondary education or go into the workforce. And so a lot of times we have people that have a barrier to employment that might not be on an IEP or 504. So it's not required that they be on an IEP or 504. What we do require is that all of our students sign, or they have a signed consent form. And we do have online forms available. And within that online form, there are multiple languages available. So that often helps in the struggle to get a signed form back from a parent. Sometimes it's easier to say, here's the online link that you can use and go that way, especially if they have a language that might be a barrier. The paper forms are available in both English and Spanish at this time, and they need to be signed by a parent or guardian. If a student is 18 or over, they can complete their own and sign that for themselves. The basics of what we provide to a school or the individual student, we work in 5 areas, and our lessons and our activities will be able to go into one of these 5 areas. And so it's the introduction and self-advocacy. We do job exploration and counseling. We do workplace readiness, work-based learning, and post-secondary counseling. So obviously self-advocacy is an area that we really need to work with our students on being able to talk about their disability or barriers, be able to identify their strengths and their weaknesses, and be able to address those in their area of need, whether it be in a student-led IEP, getting the student more active in that, or as they start the process of looking at going into college and being able to identify, here are my needs. And so also in that job exploration counseling, we can throw in, we can do career research, we can do assessments, etc. And on some of those areas, we can also dot some I's on requirements under the ICAP. Workplace readiness is one of my favorite areas because it's so, we can do a broad number of things in there. Because workplace readiness can be how to fill out an application, how to do, how to write a good cover letter, how to get a resume together. But at the beginning, it might need to be some social skills training before they can even get to where they can hope to be successful on the job. So we can do that too. We can do social skills, life skills lessons within that workplace readiness, independent living skills, budgeting. So there's just a broad number of activities that we can put in that area. Work-based learning, you know, that could be helping them get into a work study program, an internship. It could be arranging where students can tour a facility that provides a lot of employment in an area, or maybe work out a shadowing program. This area obviously has become a little bit harder to do in our COVID state right now. So we work on doing things online if we can't get them actually out into a work-based learning situation. And then we work on post-secondary counseling, and that can be helping students get ready to enroll in a 2 or 4 year college or a career tech. And so we can help with them getting prepared. A lot of the career techs require doing an interview prior to getting in. And so we can work on those interview skills. And that can be in both the workplace readiness, but also in the post-secondary counseling. We could talk with them about, you know, how to find different scholarships that might be available, and the steps that need to be, you know, number one step if you're doing post-secondary is maybe getting that FAFSA filled out. And just letting them know, okay, here's how you get to that site. You know, a lot of it is parents filling out certain information, but we can at least help them get to those steps. Again, we were, as we started as our pre-employment transition services, we were face-to-face. But we've had to think outside the box, as we often do in any kind of special services. And so we can provide our services small group or individually. We individualize them based on students' interests as well as their transition goals. So one of the reasons we have that consent form is so that we can talk with the teachers and collaborate with the teachers. So we don't want to give a lesson that's not something that the students we're serving are needing. So we want to individualize that. And again, this is how we've had to think outside the box. Instead of just that face-to-face, we've learned how to do this via Zoom or Google Meets, FaceTime. We have some students that didn't have access over, you know, in March and throughout the summer that might not have internet or might not have an iPhone. And so we've been able to even provide some of our services just through phone calls and working with students and parents that way. And of course, the old-fashioned face-to-face way. We even provide our services throughout the summer. We coordinate activities with DRIS like STEM Camp and STEP. And we also can collaborate with the schools in helping provide services through their ESY. And I'm going to go back and stop right here, and maybe we can, as I collaborate with my supervisor, Judy, and answer any questions that might have come up about pre-employment transition services.
At this moment, we don't have any questions, Ann.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on then. And if we have questions, you think of one as we go on, we can address it. Judy can decide whether we want to address it right at that time or wait to the end. I'm fine either way. So now we get to providing transition services to students with complex needs. And that can provide quite a dilemma, not just transition services, but any services to our students with complex needs. I came across this quote, and again, as a special educator for many years, this is the way I lived my life. So this makes perfect sense. The best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. And as with anything we do with our population, one way is not going to be the only way to provide services. We have to think outside the box and be willing to do that. What I'm going to share coming up are some ideas that I've had, not necessarily me, but found some ideas that I have found that have been successful in trying to provide transition services to our students that have complex needs. And here are some of the ways that I have been able to do that. And I use some task boxes, file folder activities, as well as online games or activities. They might think they're games, but they're really a learning activity. So I wanted to start with showing some very economically minded ways of providing task boxes. So all of the task boxes that I'm going to show you, the supplies can be found at Dollar Tree. And that was with a purpose in mind, knowing that teachers don't have a lot of money, and school districts don't have a lot of money to give to teachers to find some activities. So finding very economical ones was very important to me. So I'm going to start with the first one. And this is just a sorting activity. And I start with a plastic, what they call shoe boxes. So it's the shoebox size boxes that have a lid. And that way each task box can be self-contained. This is a picture of the lid of my first task box. And it shows what I call the ingredients, or what's inside the box, the contents of the box. And here is the way I utilize this box. I have buttons of different sizes. And within that box, I have some containers, one labeled big, one labeled small. Those smaller containers I get at the Dollar Tree, and they're 3 for $1. So you can easily modify a task box like this with having 3 containers, small, medium, large. And that can, that can even start with, yes, it's a sort of buttons, but if you have small, medium, large, you're also talking about some vocabulary that can then be transferred to even the retail industry. So this is just a simple sort of small and large, but it can be easily modified however you want it. And so a pack of buttons at the Dollar Tree costs $1. The 3-pack of smaller containers cost $1, and then the shoebox cost $1. So $1, $2, $3 for my task box. That can be, and you can utilize lots of other things. I have some that are different size pom-poms, some that are coins and stuff like that. So you can do different materials. This is a task box, and I got off of Teacher Pay Teachers, and they have some of these task boxes that you can download on Teacher and it's free. So I found my first task box by going, filtering my search on pay teachers with free only. So, I put down vocational task boxes and I put down free. And the first thing that popped up was this program that was, again, all using the Dollar Tree to get your supplies. My task boxes that I've made range from very simple, like the button sort or the pom-pom sort. And this one is a little bit more complex. And I wanted to show you how this box is set up. And so the name of what is going on is always on the top and on the side of the box. And this is the manicure set assembly. And I'm going to show you, that's what it kind of looks like. The inside of the box is where you see the contents. I adhere that to the inside of the lid so that I can just simply take the top off and know what all I need, what all is there. And I really like it because it also shows objectives that this task box will be trying to meet. And so as a teacher, I love when an objective is written down for me, because that could be an objective that you might incorporate into an IEP. And so on this one, it is a student will be able to assemble a complete product using 4 non-similar items with visual supports. Or a student will be able to complete assembly vocational task. And so on this one, again, I start with a shoebox that cost $1. And then this one calls for 5 manicure sets. I use 6. And the reason I use 6 is I like to have one that's already completed. You can see that at the bottom of the box, it tells the student exactly what they need to do to complete this box. And it says to get 1 nail file, 1 clipper, 1 scissor, 1 cuticle pusher, place the items in the holder, put the cap on top, and then you're finished. Obviously, this would not be suitable for everyone. It's not real dangerous, but there is the cuticle pusher and the scissors that can be dangerous. So you would want to, decide which students would be able to safely do this without causing any injury to self or others. So this is what the box looks like on the left when you just open the box, and it's kind of a mess there. And like I said, I always keep one that's complete. And then there's 5 sets that are undone within the box. Let me go back there, sorry. And so there's several ways that this can be completed. And that would depend on if you're wanting them to really work on sorting or just completing the assembly. The way I utilize this is I have them empty contents onto their workspace. I have them make sure that they put all the clippers in one pile, all the scissors in one pile, all the, each in a different pile. And then that makes it to me easier for them to then complete the product. And once they have all of them complete, they're done with that task box. So you could modify this by, depending on the time allowable that you have, maybe they complete 3 or they complete 2, depending on the needs of the student. One of the boxes I like to show is a coin sort. And again, I have on the left, the title of the box and what is inside is on the top, and it's also on the side. And on your right, is a picture of what's on the inside of the lid. And again, it tells you the supplies that are involved as well as the objective. On this one, again, the little containers, you can get those. I think those are 10 for $1 at Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree does have some coins and, you know, even some bill sorts, but they're really not very realistic. So I had some of those and I thought those aren't very realistic. So I ended up finding actual coins. And so I put the actual coins within a baggie within the box. And inside my little containers are all on the inside of the lid is a very realistic, it's a photo of each coin, a penny, a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. Inside the containers, we have the name of what goes in there, penny, as well as what its value is. And then they would empty out the coins and they would do a coin sort. And this would be something by utilizing real coins instead of the plastic alternative at Dollar Tree. I've been able to use this with some students that have visual impairments, and therefore they might be learning what a penny is by weight and by feel. And so you can utilize this, and instead of having the laminated penny in there, you could actually put a penny that they can remove and feel. So the way I have this set up is I have enough 10 of each of those sorts that they could do. But again, you could do more or less, whatever your time frame is and complex, whatever the needs of the students are. I'm going to stop there and just see if there's any questions about the task boxes. I will put down the name of it from Teacher Pay Teachers at the end of this slideshow.
So Anne,
Were there any questions so far?
Osmani has put in the website for Teacher Pay Teachers for folks to access.
Oh,
that.
perfect.
And then we also had a question from Kendra Williams. She's saying other states have used Pre-ETS in serving students at the PSE level. Is that possible in Oklahoma?
I guess I need to know what PSE level is.
So she's asking about students that are in post-secondary education. So they're outside of high school,
Oh,
colleges,
okay, I'm
and
sorry.
universities.
So yes, we provide services to all these students. What we were struggling with as we just began providing pre-employment services is that those students that have more complex needs, that maybe they're not going straight into the workforce, but we're trying to figure out that they still have transition goals and needs. And so these activities would lean more towards, you know, those students that might be in high school, but still have some complex needs that maybe we're not going to start with filling out a resume or working on a job interview, but might just start working on some of the earlier tasks that might be involved in that.
How about after graduation?
In Oklahoma, at least, we provide our pre-employment transition services to students from age 14 to 22, as long as they are enrolled in an Oklahoma school. So mostly we're working with our high school students. I think as long as they're enrolled in a school, we can continue to help a career tech or college if they're still within the age group. Is that correct? Or I might be wrong on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see my face. I was shaking my head.
Oh, sorry. So no, I can't see your face. So ours is just as long as they're enrolled in a high school.
In a Oklahoma school system. So
Correct, Judy?
yeah, they have to meet the criteria, which would be the ages of 14 to 22. They have to be enrolled in a school system. So that could mean technology, junior college, high school, private school, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Your video kind of hesitates a little bit, and so I wanted.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We had another
Is
question
that better?
from Rachel Labe.
Hello.
We had a question from Rachel Labe. She said, "How can you explain how you decide who to work with at each school and which schools you work with?"
I'm sorry. I the last part of that.
So can you explain?
Try to set my.
You might want to turn your video off so you have a better bandwidth.
Okay,
Can you explain how you
that
decide
would probably work.
who to work with at each school and which schools you work with?
Yes. I'm trying to see if I can move this so I can turn off my.
Just go down to the bottom where it says
Um.
start video. You might just click.
Yes, but okay, it went up on top. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
So we have been trying to promote this throughout the state of Oklahoma. So we want to work with school districts throughout the state of Oklahoma, and part of that is having enough specialists to do that. But anyone that has requested services, we're trying to work with. And again, like Judy said, it doesn't have to be a public school. We have worked with private schools, online schools, etc. Once we get into a school, we like to collaborate with teachers as far as what students we serve. However, we're also trying to let the teachers know that yes, we can work with the higher level students on maybe building a resume, but and interview skills, but we can also work with the complex needs students in that area. Does that help or?
Yeah, sorry, I took a second. I think that is helpful. I was just thinking specifically for my district, you know, as I think about how to encourage people to use your services. And, you know, I felt like they had just designated our pre-ETS worker to a couple of schools. I didn't know if it was something that's like, hey, reach out to her. I don't want to overwhelm her with, I happen to tell everybody that you'll come do a lesson for them. For OTI, we just met, oh yeah, this is OTI. Before we just did our team meeting, and one of our goals is of course to increase student involvement in the IEP process. We always have trouble dispersing that information to each teacher to get them to do that. And so I thought, oh, it'd be nice to use a worker, a pre-ETS worker, somebody to go into each class and to teach them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I want to share
Yes,
with you,
and
Rachel,
so if they're within 14 to 22, then we can do that.
yeah, and Rachel, we have 2 people assigned to more public schools. So reach out to me and I can help you with that.
Okay, and so was there anything else, Judy?
No, let's see. No, I think that's it.
Okay, So I wanted to show another activity that we have developed, are file folder activities. And again, I will, at the end of this, at the end of the slideshow, there will be the name of this product. This was not a free one off Teacher Pay Teacher, but I did find it on Teacher Pay Teacher. And so it's developing, this is life skills file folders, and it's within this, we have several different opportunities. And again, it goes from very low to maybe some higher functioning. This first one is a fast food sort. And so it's just a sort where, and I use lamination like crazy and Velcro. So little pieces has Velcro on the back with the other side of the Velcro within the sort. And so they have 3 choices: taco stand, sandwich shop, burger place. And they're going to take those pieces and sort them into which area it might go into. I use a little plastic baggie inside to store all the pieces. And so it could be it's a very self-contained piece that I can grab with us and take it within the classes that I'm doing. I might utilize this in a couple of ways. If I'm working individually, then I might do this just as an individual one-on-one activity, or I might, if within a class that I'm doing, maybe there's someone that this would benefit more for, and they might have a para, I might let the para work with that student while I do a class with some other students. So this is also something that we've been able to utilize, even if it's having to do this over Zoom, by duplicating the files. So the teacher would have one file and they could work with the student on it with another file, so we can see how they're doing. That also allows for maybe the student to keep the file folder game for a week and practice, and then we can trade out with a different one or build up on some of those skills. Here's another one of the life skills file folders, and this is just a community sign match. And so it's just a matching, same thing, where the smaller pieces are laminated and stored in a small plastic baggie within the file folder activity. And this is just matching one community sign with the right piece, as you see over on the right. But this would be a time that we could talk about, not just by matching it, but talking about what that sign means, where you might find that sign, etc. Within this file for activity book that I used, there's 3 or 4 different activities with community signs. Within this, there's also some activities that would show steps to how to complete something. So this one is using a debit card. There's 5 different steps, and there's pictures to match each step, a reminder. So maybe you're working with, again, maybe a 16-year-old that needs to learn how to use a debit card. You could talk about, here are the different steps. First, I'm going to check the total to ensure that matches what I bought. So you've got the check symbol there. And then I'll swipe my debit card and it shows a picture of that. Next, I will enter my PIN and reminding them that the secret number that you don't let everyone else know. Then you're gonna take your receipt and make sure that you put your card back in your wallet before leaving the checkout area. So this is a little bit different way of doing that. There are ones like how to cross the street, how to ride a bus. And they all come in like from 5 to 10 steps with matching pictures to help teach those steps. This one is the crossing the street. So first I'll stop at the curb. Next, I'll look both ways for cars. I will listen for cars. If a car is coming, I will not walk. Finally, I'll cross the street where it is safe. So it has pictures to match each of those steps, and you can add to each of those steps as you're teaching the skill. This one is just a grocery store match, and they have several different matches as well as sorts. This one is a match, and so you would match the different meats to its coordinating picture. There's also grocery sorts that will help them learn, okay, this is going to be in the produce aisle, this is going to be in the bread aisle, this is going to be in the meats aisle, etc. So there's, in this one curriculum, there's over 70 different file folder matches, and would be here from now until our next one at 7 o'clock if we did that. So I just picked out a few to show you. There's a pharmacy item match. There's also, you can go into money, and so there's coin matches, coin sorts, as well as dollar bills. This is just a sample of the using the bills, and so it goes from ones to $100 bills and being able to match those. The coordinating pieces are actual real photographs of the money, so it makes it more realistic. One of the things that I have had to do a lot through online services or virtual services is I will just give you an example. I had a parent that said, oh, my student knows all the different coins, all the different bills, but what he doesn't know is he goes and buys a candy bar at the quick store and he has $20. He doesn't know if he's got the right amount or if he's getting the right amount back. And so I worked on this summer on a lot of dollar up activities to help them kind of better guesstimate about how much money they need, as well as how much money they should receive back. And I actually did this, and if you can believe it, over just the phone, where I didn't even have this file folder to work with. I just gave examples of, this is how much money you have, here's how much you bought, do you have enough? We use all thinking to figure that out. And so here's just an example of, I think this is a grocery store dollar up. And so it gives you all the different pieces you see on the left, and then pictures with how much each item cost, and you would use a dollar to figure out how much money you would need. And so the way I utilize this with my older students is, maybe we're working on how to go make a purchase at the grocery store and you have $20. The way I utilize this activity is letting them know that by dollaring up on each item and keeping that oftentimes it comes out really similar when you tax. But by dollaring up, you have to figure whatever your tax is where you live. By dollaring up, it gives you a better guesstimate of how much money you will need, and therefore how much money you will get back. So you can see for each, the first item is $2.99, so they put down the $3. The next item is $3.49. Well, if you're dollaring up, it would take $4. So that's how I kind of utilize this activity with my older students that are needing to learn how to use money at a grocery store. I'm going to stop right there and ask for any questions. Again, I'll put the title of this thing that we downloaded from, I think we actually bought this, and I was able to copy all the activities. It gives very good directions, and within the program gives you how you might use this, objectives you might use on an IEP or something for each of these activities. Does anyone have any questions about the file folder activities?
So we did have a question from Brittany Couch. These boxes are great. Do you have a rubric or a reference that can help someone find appropriate task related to acquiring specific skill?
I don't have a rubric, but within this downloadable document from Teacher Pay Teacher, it had some very specific objectives so that you would be able to know what objective was being taught. And there are some ideas on there on how you could figure out a way of using this for your IEP, like they will complete this box, and 8 out of 10 times they'll get it correct, however you would want to do it. I don't have one that I use. I would leave that for the teachers. I kind of figure out how they want to document this. You could easily do a check of, yes, they got this 80% or 90% on the task boxes. I like that the objectives are there, so it makes the teacher to figure out, yes, this is what I need to work on this student. So I hope that helps, but you could easily develop a rubric by using, you could make a copy of
Anne, you went away. Where are you?
It looks like she may have gotten kicked off. So we can, if there's anything, Judy, that you can address while we're waiting for her to come back on, that would be great.
Okay, so one of the questions we have in the chat box is which of the 5 core pre-ETS do these task boxes fall in? Several of them, aren't specific to self-advocacy or what was the other one? Employment counseling, but many of them do assist students with complex needs as it relates to achieving their transition goals in post-secondary. We recognize that some students may not go and get a full-time job, a part-time job, that they may actually go to work with maybe a family member that maybe owns their own business and are going to be working in that environment. Maybe that's going to be centered around a specific type of industry, maybe horticulture, those kinds of things like that. And sometimes we use those task boxes to actually learn specific things for that specific goal for that individual in his future. For example, in one of the places, a gentleman was going to graduate and start working with his dad and mowing lawns and doing different things like that. So we did a lot of task boxes as it relates to safety symbols and different things specifically related to those tasks that he would be doing in that job with his parent. A lot of times this is more work readiness. Some of these task boxes for our youth with high complex needs versus actual jobs, industry specific. We are doing a lot of virtual stuff right now, and through Teachers Pay Teachers, there's many different items that you can work with in those sites that are online where they do a lot of matching. So instead of doing the money points in this photo type of activity, you're actually doing the dragging with the actual online quote unquote game or activity. So they would drag the answers to the correct areas. So there are several of those also on Teacher Pay Teacher that we have utilized for the online education. So Anne, are you back? I'm just rambling until you get back. I'm not hearing you, but I am seeing your screen. Are you muted? Nope, I'm still not hearing you, friend. You want to turn your microphone, you want to turn your video on, see if we can get you that way? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to even find her on my screen.
I don't have her PowerPoint, so I can't keep going. It may be Zoom connection. Mine was having issues this morning. Thank you, Emily. Emily, can you jump in real quickly on some things that you're doing online for Pre-ETS? Some activities?
Sure.
Jump in, would you?
Sure. Let me see if I can find that activity that you were describing just now. It is a Google slide type thing. I've got to find it.
Okay.
But I've been working with students, most of my students virtually, and some of those include working with classes virtually. So of course with COVID, there's a lot of safety concerns regarding having visitors come into the building. So I have set it up with some schools where I meet with the students over Google Meets all at the same time during a class. And I provide the teacher with curriculum to be able to upload to the Google Classroom for them to be able to do an assignment or activity, so that that's one less lesson that this teacher has to come up with for that day. I've also worked with another school district who has actually allowed me to have access to one of their Google Classrooms to be able to post pre-recorded lectures, as well as, ooh, I think Anne may be back. I'm seeing her screen. That's exciting. And
Hello, sorry.
I can hear her.
I'm so sorry. That's the joy of being after to your MiFi that decides to shut off right in the middle of your presentation.
Oh no. So I'll finish my little
Sorry,
spiel.
Em, go ahead.
Take over. So what I've got set up with them is that I am pre-recording some lessons and walkthroughs for some of the lessons that we do, so that even though we're not allowed to go into the classroom, they're still able to access our services at a time that feels right to the teacher, and at the same time keep all of the kiddos safe. All right, Anne, go for it. And while you're going for it, I'm going to see if I can find that Google slide activity.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, perfect, great. Okay, so I guess I missed if there was questions about this specific file folder, but I kind of got back in when Em was talking, and Em and I have coordinated on a lot of these activities, so I'm glad she was here. And on my next screen, this is one that Em taught me about, is Peter Pig's Money Counter. And I guess the slide that I had that had the one that she was talking about that she's trying to find, the slide didn't end up on the one that got turned in. So I apologize for that. But the Peter Pig's Money Counter that you can get online, it's a free game you can do. And it really teaches students about different values of money, and it can be very student-led in that it gives like an easy, a medium, and a hard different levels. And you might let your student be the lead in deciding, oh, I think I know my money pretty well. I think I'll do the hard version. And then they might have to learn, oh, maybe I need to go back. And then you can kind of walk them through, well, maybe we should start it easy and move forward. It's a really fun game that the kids seem to like, and it's one that you can pull up on your computer if you're doing distance learning, and give them the lead at being able to use the cursor and be able to use, whether they have a Chromebook or an iPad or even a phone at home. And then they can practice this game on their own as well. So it's a real fun game. And I was not sure, were you able to find what you were looking for?
Yeah, I've got it. I remembered
getting-
that it was on my Google stuff and not on my Microsoft Office stuff.
Oh,
And
okay,
I
great.
need to let you guys know you only have 10 minutes, okay?
Okay.
And do you want to keep going, or do you want me to show this?
I would love for you to show that, because that is what I wanted to include on this online.
Okay. If you can stop your screen share, I'll be able to share mine.
Okay. I am going to stop sharing.
Marvelous. Okay. So this is the one that I'm going to show you is actually free on Teachers Pay Teachers. It's one of the freebies that they had. If you don't follow them on any social media, you definitely should, because Adulting Made Easy shares all kinds of free stuff, which is super great. That's how I found out about it. This is kind of like a virtual task box. There's multiple levels and different scenarios that students can go through, and this one specifically is for grocery shopping. So working on some of those independent living skills. It has the student, it has to be on this version. Whenever you go to present mode, it doesn't work, which is unfortunate because that makes it bigger and easier for me to see. I'm sure easier for the kiddos to see, but regardless. So what you're doing is, oops, I didn't fix it from the last time. You look at your shopping list, and then the student decides what aisle they would go down to get the things on the shopping list. So for example, we've got oranges and apples and grapes, and I think that is cauliflower. I'm going to say that with a question mark because I can't really see it very well on my screen. And when you're using Zoom and things like that, you're able to give the student remote control. So either you can have the student tell you where they want you to put the shopping basket, or you can have the student move it over to produce. It goes through a couple of different ones. So for example, let's say I didn't go and fix this after the last time I used it with a kiddo, sorry. So let's say that you've got a shopping list of orange, apples, purple grapes, and cauliflower. Basically what they're doing is they're matching. So they would pull an orange over, they would pull an apple over, they'd pull a grape over, and so on and so forth. This also helps them be able to learn about the conveyor belt. So I'm sure they've gone with parents to the grocery store, before COVID. I'm convinced BC is going to be a thing for COVID. But this gives them a way to be able to practice that skill of, okay, so we've got to check out now. We need to put it on the conveyor belt, and they're able to practice that. There's a couple of different things that you can do, including like total cost, how to pay the cashier. So using some of those money management skills. And then it goes on to those level 2 things. So the level 2 is more reading. So it's not going to have the pictures of the Funyuns and the barbecue chips like the level 1 would, but this allows you to be able to use it for more, for diverse populations. It's got a bunch of different things in there all the way down, a lot of the same activities, but I found it very useful to use with kiddos. They seem to enjoy it a lot because it's more of a game than having to sit and listen to someone talk, which is nice. That's all. That's that activity. Super fun. The kids love it.
Thank you, Emily. Anne, did you have
Thank
anything you want to share?
Yes.
We have 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, the last screens of you guys are all getting the PowerPoint. So the last 2 screens were just the names of the different things that you could look up on Teacher Pay Teacher to try these activities at home, as well as how to get in touch with Renee Sanson or Judy Goldston if your school district might be interested in trying to get pre-ETS services in your district. And that was the 2 end slides. So rather than try to go back to sharing, you guys are all going to get those, I think, PowerPoints. So.
Okay, Emily, can you put in the chat box the where and the how that you get that? There you go. Thank you.
I'm going to find the link to that specific one in Teachers Pay Teachers
Okay.
so that we can make sure that everyone has access to that as well.
Okay, thanks. All right, do you guys have any questions before we log off? Will you send the link to us? Emily's going to put that in the chat box for you. Any other questions? So we do want you to know that Pre-ETS is stationed, Pre-ETS specialists are stationed all across the state of Oklahoma. We are looking for other Pre-ETS specialists in different areas where we are finding a need, specifically McAllister up and down that corridor there, as well as Pontotoc County as well. But we have Pre-ETS specialists in Tulsa, Muskogee, Enid, Lawton, south of Oklahoma, south of Norman, east of Norman, west of Oklahoma City, and they serve about 15 to 20 different schools in a month period. We do let the school decide how we're going to serve those students, and so we work with the school and the special ed directors to determine what students are going to receive services first, what activities best meet their needs. Remember that all recordings and PowerPoints and other materials will be posted online a week or so after OTI. We're going to conclude this session, but we want to remind you that at 7 o'clock, we do have our session on transitioning assistive technology with students and documenting it in the IBP. So please consider joining on for that session at 7 o'clock. I'd highly recommend logging on a little bit earlier. Thank you, Ann Williams. Thank you, Emily Mullendor. Kim, thank you. Kim Osmani, thank you for all your work in getting this together. We appreciate that. So if there's no more questions, I think we'll log off.
Thank you.